Welcome to Flip Lesson 56 for 5th grade. Today we're going to continue looking at our multiplication by multiple digits, and this time we're going to include zeros in our numbers and how to handle those zeros as we go about this process. So we see our example up on the board. Alright? We start by looking at the fact that, okay, our ones column is filled with a 0. So I could take the time and say 0 times 6 is 0, and 0 times 5 is 0, or 0 times 1 is 0. And we can go ahead and go through that entire process. However, that's pretty easy to understand. And so really what we can do is we can just skip this step right here and say, okay, let's go right to the tens. Now when we go to the tens, we have to remember we're in the tens place. If we're in the tens place, the first thing we have to do is put the 0 down. If the 0 goes down, now we go 1 times 6, 1 times 5, 1 times 1. Now we go to the hundreds. 0 goes down. Second 0 goes down. Hundreds place. 1 times 6, 1 times 5, 1 times 1. And now we can add these things together. Right? So in this scenario, as we are multiplying, if there's a 0, right, as we multiply by a number and there's a 0, right, it has to be on the bottom number. If there's a 0 in the ones, we can go ahead and skip that step and go right to the tens, remembering to put this 0 in here, and then adding everything together to get us a nice answer. Right? So that's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2, what if there's a 0 up above? When there's a 0 up above, we still need to multiply the same, because the 0 isn't going to really affect our addition down here at the bottom of the place values. Right? It's just going to be like multiplying by 0. So, for example, 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 4 is 4. As I move here, I'm moving into the tens column. Right? First thing I do is put a 0 down. 1 times 5. Right? 1 times 0. 1 times 4. Okay? Moving on to the 200. 2 zeros go down. 2 times 5, another 0. 1 goes up. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 gives me 1, and then 2 times 4 for an 8. And so when the 0 is up above, it really doesn't change our process. Right? So we don't want to get confused with that idea. Again, adding these things together, get a final answer. Alright? So we can think about that process. Here's another example. Right? Here we got the 0 down here again, which means that's going to make a difference in how we solve this problem. Right? When the 0's down below. So at the basketball tournament, the canteen sold 105 nacho platters for $4.25. How much money did the canteen make on nachos? Right? So we're going to take 105 times $4.25. Right, to start this problem, we're just going to ignore the decimal and we're just going to get our multiplication done. So 5 times 5, 2 goes up. Right? 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2. 2 goes down, 1 goes up. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1, 1, 2. Right? Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the tens. The tens has a 0. We understand that multiplying by 0 is just going to equal 0, right? So really it's just going to be 0, right? 0 goes down to handle the tens, then it's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0. But we really don't need to do that step because we understand that it's going to be 0. So let's just skip it. Instead, we're going to go right to the hundreds. As we go to the hundreds, we got to remember that we're in the hundreds. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put down 2 zeros. 1 times 5 is 5. We didn't carry it. 1 times 2 is 2. We didn't carry it. 1 times 4 is 4. Now I can add these things together. 5, 2, 6, 4, 4. Right? And then finally, because we're working with money, right, 2 decimal places, we need to put 2 decimal places back in. 1, 2, 1, 2. And so we have our big decimal there. So in the end, we've made $44, $446.25. Alright, here's some sample problems. That's lesson 6. quick end to get that last bit of the mixture. Alright, that is the end of the lesson. Go ahead and do this.